Pan American. And before Texas, Dr. Rodriguez served in various leadership roles at the University of Delaware, including Deputy Provost, Vice Provost for Academic Affairs and International Programs. And he was also Director of the Disaster Research Center, which is the oldest and one of the leading social science disaster research centers in the world. He also served as Director of the Minority Affairs Program at the American Sociological Association and held several administrative positions while on the faculty at the University of Puerto Rico for over a decade. He has a BS in psychology from University of Maryland, an MA in sociology from University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, and a PhD in sociology from University of Wisconsin at Madison. So with no further ado.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Hello. Welcome. Come on, have a seat. Don't be shy.
Yeah. Well, just like in class. Nobody wants to sit up front.
It's a great day. How are you? It's good to see you. I know. That's right, exactly. So good afternoon, everybody. Again, it's good to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I think last time we met, it was over Zoom, right? When Zoom was sort of the primary mode of communication. Thankfully, we're moving away from that, although we still heavily use Zoom for many meetings. Has proved to be quite useful, actually. So we appreciate that we have the invitation to be here, and also just a belated happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving with your loved ones. As it's become a tradition for us. When I say us, it's Rosie and myself, my wife and I. This year, again, we hosted a group of international students who come to our house. We do a home-cooked meal, spend a few hours. Claudia joined us as well. Spend a few hours with the international students, talk about, why they came to UAlbany, their experiences back home. And these are students from literally all over the world. And so Rosie and I are truly blessed to be able to, share our fortune with these students and get to know a little bit more about their lives and how they are and their challenges and the opportunities before them. And they're also grateful to join us, right? These are folks from countries that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but they stay here while most of their American counterparts go home, right, to an event or an activity, and they stay here. So we take the opportunity to invite a group of them home, and we just had a blast, and we've done this now for quite some time since we've been here. You said I've had 25 years of administrative experience before I got to UAlbany. Now that means I have 30 years of because I just celebrated in past September, I celebrated my 5th year anniversary here at UAlbany, and certainly time flies when you're having fun, right? Before I continue, I think most of you have met her, but I would like to introduce my new Chief of Staff, Claudia Hernandez. Claudia joined us back in July, was it?
Yeah,
July 11th, right? July 11th. So she's now a pro being the Chief of Staff. Actually, Claudia comes from a SUNY system itself. She spent 18 years there working with the Global Affairs program, managing the finances and a whole variety of other things at SUNY. So 18 years of experience at SUNY, and now we're fortunate to have her here at the university at Albany. There's many things that have happened throughout this past year or so at the university. A few months ago, I had my university address, which is online. If you've got an hour to spare, you want to listen to it, please be my guest. I'll give you a synopsis of that presentation here in a few minutes. And so talk a little bit about some of the great things that are happening at UAlbany, some of the great opportunities that are before the university, and some of the challenges that we're confronting as an institution of higher education. So let's start back in September. Perhaps some of you attended our 5th New York State Writers Institute Book Festival. It's an amazing festival, several thousand people here coming to the University at Albany from the capital region, the state of New York, and literally from throughout the country. This is an event that raises the visibility of the University at Albany. So we were delighted to have noted speakers and writers from throughout the country coming here at the University at Albany to meet and greet guests throughout the region and beyond. So we're delighted with the New York State Writers Institute Book Festival. We also now have a New York State Writers Institute Film Festival. For those of you who are interested, we just celebrated the 3rd year anniversary with that initiative. As you think, I think maybe many of you know, I know Jim Van Voort certainly knows, our CEFCU Arena is under renovation. And while we miss playing there, please stay tuned. Next fall, 2023, the arena will hopefully be open if everything goes according to schedule with our construction firm. And it's just going to be a spectacular place for the university. It's not only a place to play basketball and volleyball, but it's a gathering place for the university, for commencement ceremonies, for welcoming new students to the institution, but also a variety of events, community events, right, that people host here at the university. So we're delighted with those renovations that are taking place, and it's just going to be a transformational place for our athletic teams, especially men's and women's basketball. In the meantime, we're playing men's and women's basketball at Hudson Valley Community College. So if you have some time and want to join us and support our Great Danes, Hudson Valley Community College, all the games are posted online, and we selected Hudson Valley Community College because we have a truly great partnership with Hudson Valley Community College, and President Roger Ranzami and I have been working together for the past 4 or 5 years to strengthen those bonds and relationships. So we're just building on those partnerships. So men's and women's basketball at Hudson Valley Community College. As is the case every semester, our faculty, our staff, and our students just do amazing work at the university. We're so fortunate to have such outstanding faculty, staff, and students. And we just put together for the first time what we're calling Year in Review, the Year Review Gallery for 21-22. Again, if you go on our website and just look for Year in Review, you can go to the entire past year, 21-22, and you will be amazed at the great work and accomplishments and recognitions of our faculty, our staff, and our students. So I strongly encourage you to take a look at this site at your convenience, and I think you will be delighted with what's happening at the University at Albany. But let me just give you a few updates on some major initiatives. Just recently, the RNA Institute, which, as you may know, was instrumental as we navigated COVID with the testing of COVID, right? They just did an amazing test, a very reliable test that tested people throughout the university community and the external community, as well as other colleges in the region. So they just got a $2.5 million grant from the National Institute of Health to advance their search for a cure for myotonic dystrophy. Myotonic dystrophy is the most common form of adult onset muscular dystrophy. So the RNA Institute and the University at Albany are taking a lead role in that regard. Also, Dr. Betty Lynn from our Department of Psychology was recently awarded a $3 million grant from the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Health and Human Development to study the consequences of maternal health, maternal infant health in Black families. And so it's again a $3 million grant for this research initiative. We're delighted with that progress as well. And I'll speak shortly about a few other grants, but let me just say that UAlbany, during the recent elections, right, UAlbany was named one of the best colleges in the United States for student voting. So we are strongly motivating and encouraging our students to always go to the polls and vote for whoever they want to vote, but to vote. And this national recognition is really a validation of our commitment to ensure that our students become engaged global citizens. And speaking of engagement, UAlbany recently received a major recognition from APLU, which is the Association of Public Land Grant Universities, which is called the Innovation and Economic prosperity designation, which is designed to recognize institutions that are exemplary in their institution-wide to regional economic development and engagement. So it speaks very loudly to the work that our faculty, our staff, and students do in terms of economic development, economic engagement with our communities. This was a proposal that took us 3 years to pull the data together to develop. So very, very rigorous. It's very data-driven, and we were recognized nationally by the APOU. Also, just recently, we received the Insight into Diversity's Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award for the 5th consecutive year, which is quite amazing. This award recognizes colleges and universities that demonstrate an outstanding commitment to diversity and inclusion. But it's not only saying we're committed to diversity and inclusion, but showing the results. It's outcome-driven, data-driven, so it's a very rigorous process, external peer review committee that evaluates the university. And again, we were recognized for the 5th consecutive year, and we should be very, very proud of that. Talking about additional grants, UAlbany was recently awarded a $2.5 million National Science Foundation grant, and we're the PI to a SUNY-wide system initiative to increase the participation of underrepresented minority students in STEM fields. So again, a number of SUNY institutions participate. We lead that effort with a $2.5 million grant. We also received another, just last month, another $2.5 million grant from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute to pioneer new, more inclusive approaches to teaching STEM disciplines and mobilize comprehensive student support network to increase retention and graduation rates of our students across the university. The HHMI grant, there were only 6 awarded nationally. The University at Albany was one of those 6. Again, very, very competitive grants, and $2.5 million that will allow us to focus on enhancing retention and graduation rates. And talking about promoting economic mobility, etc., this year, once again, the university was ranked among the top 10% of the institutions in the country, actually number 38, in terms of promoting social and economic mobility of our students. So the university continues to be an engine of opportunity, ensuring that our students not only come to the university, but graduate and become, again, successful, engaged citizens. And having that recognition nationwide is critically important for the university. In terms of other recognitions, UAlbany was recently awarded a few months ago in this fall semester, the prestigious Seal of Excelencia, or Seal of Excellence, which talks about our success in recruiting, retaining, serving, graduating, and ensuring the success of Latino and Latina students at the University at Albany. Again, 6 institutions were recognized nationwide. Only 30 institutions in the country have this designation, but the initiatives that we develop are initiatives that impact all students, regardless of background, socioeconomic background, race, and ethnicity. This award was particularly for Latino and Latina students, but these are initiatives that benefit all our students, and so that is quite amazing. Somewhat related to this, you might have heard that I was appointed by the White House to serve on the President's Advisory Commission for advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunities for Hispanics. So there were 20 plus, I think it was 24 people selected nationwide by the President of the United States, and I had the honor of being invited to serve on that commission, which is a nationwide commission focusing on educational and economic opportunities for Hispanics in the country. So again, I think that speaks volumes to the work that the University at Albany is doing, and this is just a recognition of that work that is taking place at UAlbany. Thank you, Dr. Slade. Appreciate it. So this is sort of a long way of saying that there's very much there's much to celebrate here at UAlbany, and so much for us to be proud as a community. And this is just basically the tip of the iceberg, right? But again, not all is peaches and cream, right? There are also challenges at the university, and one of our major challenges, which is a national challenge, is what's happening with enrollment nationwide. And as you know, nationwide enrollment continues to decline. We are no exception to that. Over the past few years, particularly during and after COVID, our enrollment rates have been essentially flat or declining in recent years, right? Which is a challenge that we're actively dealing with as many institutions of higher education. We are very, very proud to say that we are one of the most diverse Research One institutions in the country. About 1/3 of our students are low income, about 1/3 of first generation students, over 40% are underrepresented minority students, that is Black or Latina students. That also has consequences because these students confront serious social and economic pressures at home, right? And so and we're seeing largest declines in enrollment across the country happening among Latino and Black African-American students. And so it's a challenge that we're confronting, and we're trying to stay ahead of the game. And we have a lot of people who are doing great, great work in order to help us address these issues. SUNY also just launched a major nationwide recruitment initiative, and UAlbany is actively engaged in that initiative as well. Another area that will present great opportunities for us as we move forward in the area of enrollment and research as well is taking place in the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. First of all, as you know, our engineering program is basically a baby, right? It's 6 years old. And so it's growing and developing. As part of that, we were not accredited by ABET, which is the accrediting agency for engineering. I'm happy to say that we are now accredited by ABET. We just had a visit for ABET last year, and 2 of our programs, the BS in Computer Sciences and Electrical and Computer Engineering, were accredited by ABET, which is sort of the seal of certification and excellence. And so if a student has an opportunity to go to an engineering program, they will choose an ABET accredited program. Now the University at Albany and our engineering programs at the undergraduate level are ABET accredited. A new program that we just developed a few years ago is our Environmental and Sustainable Engineering program. We just also had the recent site visit from ABET, and we expect that we will be accredited for that program as well. That would allow us to continue to recruit great faculty and great students to come to the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. Also, we just welcomed our new Dean of Engineering, Dr. Michelle Grimm, who joined us from Michigan State University. Just an amazing dean who's a bioengineer by training and brings a wealth of experience in teaching, research, and administration. So we're delighted that Michelle joined us a couple of months ago at the most, and so she is taking the helm of the College of Engineering. And another bit of good news, as you may know, we recently were awarded a $75 million investment from the state of New York to launch an artificial intelligence supercomputing cluster at UAlbany, and Jim Van Voorst will be happy to hear, to complete the renovations of our former Albany High School. Jim, I mean, since I was here, but even before, how hard did we work on getting funding for that, right?
On your first day, we took the tour.
That's right. Well, on the first day, right, I had to convince Jim that he couldn't retire. So you got to stay another year. But, for the past 5 years, as Jim knows, and probably even longer, but myself personally, for the past 5 years, we've been going to the state capitol hat in hand, asking for $20 million to finish the renovations of the old Albany High School, which will become the home of the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. And this year, after 5 years, we were able to secure $75 million. Half of that will go to complete the renovations of the school. So that is all funded, Jim. And so we anticipate that half of the building. We designed it to complete half because that was the funding we had. And so half of that building will be completed by the fall of next year. And then with the money that we have now, we will complete the other half, and everything is under full renovations as we speak. So it's going to be a majestic building and a great home for the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. But in addition to that, we're engaging in developing, as I said before, an artificial intelligence supercomputing cluster. And combined to that is another $5.2 million that we just received in recurring state funding to hire faculty focusing on artificial intelligence. So think about this for the faculty in the room. With that $5.2 million in recurring funding, we're going to be searching. We're now in the process of searching for 29 new faculty. Think about that. 29 new faculty. And with the normal searches that we have on a year to year based on, the typical retirements, people that go away, move, etc., we will be searching for about 45 to 50 new faculty this coming year. You can compare us to any other university. I mean, you can think about these numbers. These numbers are truly transformational for the university at Albany when you think about it. Trying to get in 45 new faculty from across the spectrum, from the 9 schools and colleges at the university, 29 focus on artificial intelligence, because the idea is to develop a curriculum that infuses artificial intelligence throughout the curriculum, throughout the schools and colleges. Doesn't matter if you're studying history, philosophy, or art, chemistry, sociology, engineering, or chemistry, to infuse artificial intelligence, because we think that these are skills that the students need as they graduate and go into the workforce. So we are very, very enthusiastic about this, and we know that this has the potential to significantly impact our visibility locally, nationally, and globally. And with our new Vice President for Research and Economic Development, not sure that you folks have met him, Kesh Quesavadas. Kesh came to us from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. We had a major that's right, Dr. Slade. We had national search, had amazing group of people who applied to the university. We selected Dr. Quesavadas. He started in January. The funding for the artificial intelligence it was his brainchild. So we took that to the state. They really liked it and really gave and decided to give us the $75 million in state funding. But artificial intelligence would allow us to address issues related to weather, public health, minority health disparities, emergency management, even athletics, among many, many other fields. And again, adding this across the curriculum at the university at Albany. So again, a lot of excitement as we go out and search for 49 faculty, right? It's hard to recruit 49 faculty, so there's tons of searches that are currently ongoing and new ones that will emerge, but we hope to be successful in trying to recruit the majority of these faculty for the university at Albany. And finally, we continue to have conversations with both SUNY and the second floor, the office of the governor and her staff regarding the reunification of the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering, CNSE, and the University at Albany. You may have heard that back in January of this year, during her State of the State address, the governor announced the potential reunification of CNSE with the University at Albany. Again, this is something that Jim and I worked quite a bit, and it sort of had its ups and downs, and it died, and now it's back up. And so we have conversations with them, and we're looking forward to having that reunification occur. It's a matter of getting the final green light and getting a go-ahead so that we can move forward regarding a potential timeline for that reunification. So as you can see, a lot of exciting things happening at the university. I hope you share my same sense of enthusiasm for what is transpiring at the university, because I think there's so many great opportunities before us. You've heard about some of our accomplishments. Yes, there are issues. Yes, there are challenges that we continue to navigate. But I think at the end of the day, we've got the right faculty, we've got the right staff, we've got the right students to continue to have a major impact locally, nationally, and globally. So once again, thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for all that you have done and you continue to do for the University at Albany. And if I have time, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Sure. I think we certainly have time if you do.
Yeah, of course.
Dean, can you get the microphone? So do we have any questions for President Rodriguez?
You got the mic.
You got the mic.
There you go.
Don't be shy now.
Right? Anyone?
We're gonna have to force Claudia to ask a question.
Yeah.
Dean's got them. Questions, I'm enthused. We had Kesh here to speak with us.
Oh, you did?
He
Okay.
did, he was here a few.
Yeah, I'm still excited from that talk as well.
Okay.
Was great. Yes, Tim.
Thank you for the great comments and very exciting time. In regard to AI, we're just starting for beginners and other people have put billions into it. How do we fold into what IBM is doing, what Google is doing in these directions to sort of catch the wave rather than have to build our own?
So great question. And we're having very regular meetings at different levels, including myself, including Kesh Casavaras and others. We're having ongoing meetings with IBM, with Global Foundries, with NVIDIA and other organizations to talk about collaborations and partnerships, right? We want to bring in industry partners. This is going to be key for us. I talked about $75 billion. Half of that will go into the AI initiative. This is a $200 million project that we're contemplating, right? So we need a lot of support in terms of funding, but we also need a lot of expertise and partnerships from IBM, Global Foundry, and others. So those conversations are ongoing at, like I said, at different levels and looking at how we can collaborate and participate in building something together rather than inviting, an organization. When we have this built, we want them to be part of helping us build this so it can meet their needs as well as our needs. The other thing that really differentiates us, and so one of the, if Kesh was here and he talked about the artificial supercomputing cluster, as you may know, this is going to be one of the fastest supercomputing clusters in the country, if not the world, right? So it's going to be much more advanced than what we have out there. Number one, what really also differentiates us is the focus on developing AI across the curriculum, right? In order to make sure that we have faculty. For example, the 29 faculty that we're recruiting, you have a significant number of faculty in areas that you would expect, like, engineering and others, but there's also faculty in CHEC, we're recruiting a faculty in philosophy, and a variety of other areas where we could bring together an interdisciplinary team of faculty to really focus on these key critical issues for the University at Albany, but serve the communities at large, nationally and globally. So those I expect that those conversations with industry will continue to flourish and will be very productive.
Anybody else?
The other thing, well, as you folks think about a question, I have no shortage of things to say. So the other area that we're focusing on very strongly is in social and health equity. We have a faculty, again, across the different schools and colleges that do a lot of work in social and health equity. As you may know, when we were in the middle of the pandemic, the governor's office asked myself and the University at Albany to lead a study on the disproportionate impacts of COVID-19 on communities of color. So we engaged in that research. We had about 28 faculty from about 5 different schools and colleges engaged in that work, which has now is leading to external grants being submitted for funding, etc. But also the establishment of a social and health equity institute. We just completed a national search and we're hiring a faculty member from Penn State who will be joining us in the summer to lead, to serve as director of the Social and Health Equity Institute. So we anticipate that the university will also play a key leadership role nationally as it relates to social and health equity. This is something I've been interested for a very long time. And, you know, we talk about all the negative consequences of COVID, and there's been many, many negative consequences, as we all know, but this also brought an opportunity to the university to focus very strong on health and social and health equity. And we'll be launching that institute sometime in the summer when our new director is in place. So very, very interested about that. And just something to satisfy you, we were recently recognized, and you were part of this, as the Health Promoting University, which talks very, this is again a global classification, if you will. I think there's now about a dozen or so institutions in the country that are health promoting universities that really talk about the role, the importance, the contributions, and the great impact that the university is having on promoting health and watching for the health and well-being of our not only students but faculty and staff. So that's a great recognition that we received. I think, was it last year? This was before you retired. And so things are moving along very nicely. We have a conference in February, and I've been invited to be part of that panel, thanks to the great work that the university is doing in that regard as well.
Excellent. This is kind of pie in the sky, future kind of things. Let me first of all say that I've been very impressed and amazed by the expansion of the colleges and so on that we've added in recent years. There are two other kinds of professional schools that we still don't have, and I don't see it in the immediate future, certainly be a law school and a med school. Is there any vision of that sort of thing, perhaps with like Albany Med or Albany Law, that sort of thing, affiliation with them or some sort of expansion of our coverage into those areas?
Right. So and that's one of the university at Albany, right? And a lot of people compare us to Buffalo, Binghamton, and Stony Brook. But when you look at the academic profile of these institutions, right? I mean, first of all, they've all had engineering programs for 40, 50, 60 years. Ours is only 6 years old, right? And they have a variety of programs in medical schools, law schools, pharmacy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which UAlbany has not developed, right? And so one of the things that we're thinking about is how do we continue to build and expand on these programs? So, for example, starting in the fall, cross your fingers, if everything gets approved, we'll have both undergraduate and graduate degrees in nursing, right? Which, by the way, we had nursing programs back in the 1970s and 60s at the University of Albany for reasons that I don't know, right? They were eliminated, and now, given the huge demand that we have nationally for nurses, it's a program in high demand. So we're looking at the types of programs that we need to build as an institution of higher education to start expanding on that. We have some great relationships with Albany Med, and we have some great programs in which our students can transition from UAlbany directly into Albany Med in order to complete a medical degree. We have those same partnerships with upstate New York SUNY and downstate Med, I should say, that are part of SUNY as well. But the idea is continue to have those partnerships with Albany Med. Same thing with Albany Law. We have a great partnership. Actually, in a given year, maybe a quarter to a third of the students admitted to Albany Law are UAlbany students, right? So we've got this direct pipeline to Albany Law. I believe it was last year we signed an MOU between Hudson Valley Community College, UAlbany, and Albany Law, with the idea that students can go to Hudson Valley, get their 2-year degree there, transfer to UAlbany, complete their 4-year degree here, and then transfer to Albany Law and get their law degree. And we've developed a number of other combined programs between Albany Law and UAlbany that students can get the flavor at both institutions of taking classes and getting degrees from both institutions. So we continue to build and work on that. as somebody who actually built a school of medicine from the ground up, it's a major challenge to establish your own school of medicine here in the capital region, and particularly when other SUNY institutions have full-blown schools of medicine and hospitals.
Thank you. That was very informative.
Yeah, actually, you anticipated my question, which was, what's the status of the reunification with SUNY Poly? I'm glad to see that it's still on the radar, because it got a lot of attention when the governor made that announcement. Then it kind of died. In fact, I think even at some of our meetings, we've asked, what's going on with SUNY Poly and the proposed merger? So I'm glad it's still on the books. It's just taking a while.
It's taken a while. There's a number of issues that, different folks, in the governor's office and in SUNY need to deal with and navigate. It's still very, very much alive. And I'm hoping that the reunification will indeed take place. As you probably know, as soon as the governor announced the potential reunification, the faculty at CNSE got together and they voted unanimously that they wanted to come to the University at Albany. They wrote a letter to the governor stating their preference. So all things are in place to make that happen. It's a matter, as I said before, it's a matter of the timeline, and it's a matter of saying green light, right? And when we get that green light, we're certainly ready to move.
Excellent.
And we've all been around here long enough to know that the wheels grind very slowly.
Especially with something like this.
Yes.
There's a lot of parties involved, right?
Yes, exactly. And politics and money. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, good. I want to thank the president and the chief of staff for coming here today. It's always great to see you, and I think for all of us, it's gratifying that the university is in such good hands.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
I appreciate that. Again, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to see all of you, and whenever you want me to come back, you know
Okay,
where to find me.
very good. Thank you. We'll let the president and chief of staff get back to their very busy schedules. We do have a few more items of business to conduct, so I would appreciate everybody staying around for maybe another 20-30 minutes.
I'm gonna have to leave
take
in
a
about
call.
15.
Okay, as long as you can.
Answer a call. I'm coming back.
Okay. Okay, let me open up my
Still
file.
recording. Right?
Yes, I think so. I didn't turn it off.
Okay, hit record.
Okay, yeah,
No, I saw you-
I noticed it, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So, okay, yeah, good. All right, now it's time for, I guess, what I call the president's report. Yeah, so it's like the State of the Union, but it's the State of the Emeritus. Basically, just kind of summarizing what we've done over the last 2 years. We've been pretty busy despite the pandemic. For example, in 2021, as you can see, we gave 13 talks. And again, because of the pandemic, we did them all remotely as Zoom webinars. Some of the highlights from that year, we had the Dean of College of Emergency Preparedness, Homeland Security, and Cybersecurity, Robert Griffin, talked to us. It was a very well-attended program, and he did a great job giving us his perspectives on the January 6th insurrection. We also had Don Levy, who is the director of the Siena Research Institute. That's the group that partners with the New York Times to do a lot of political polling. So he talked to us about the state of political polling after the 2020 presidential election. We had Benita Zahn come. She's currently the health and wellness coach at Capital Cardiology, but many of you probably know her from her previous days as a news anchor for Channel 13 TV. And she talked to us about the relationship between happiness and health. And we had another president come by too, actually, at the end of 2021, Chris Gibson from Siena College, who gave a very nice talk on his career transition from the military to Congress to academia, including university president. And then in the spring semester this year, we gave 7 talks, but again, because of COVID concerns, we also offered them remotely. We had Joachim Frank come. He's currently at Columbia, but he was formerly here at UAlbany in biomedical sciences. And he's the winner of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, shared, I think, with 2 others in 2017. So, to my knowledge, it's the first time the Emeritus Center's ever had a Nobel Prize winner come and talk. Is that true, George and Bob? You guys go way back. I don't think we've ever had a Nobel Prize winner. And he talked a little bit about his work, but he's also talked about his writing. He's also a published author. He's kind of like the Renaissance man, Leonardo da Vinci, you know, a really intelligent but well-rounded individual. And speaking of SUNY Poly, we had Nate Caddy come from the College of Nanoscience and Engineering to kind of tell us what they're all about. And of course, he was circumspect about the possible reunification with UAlbany, but he was certainly supportive. And I was glad to see the president said actually that unanimously that the SUNY Poly faculty want to come back to UAlbany. And our own Tim Lance gave a very interesting talk too on the role of New York in the birth and maturation of the internet. And then we concluded the spring program with a tour, a guided tour of the E-Tech building, shown here. I didn't know what it stood for, so I had to look it up. It's Emerging Technology and Entrepreneurship Complex, and it's located next door at the Harriman State Office campus. And it is the home for our College of Emergency Preparedness, Homeland Security, and Cybersecurity. Atmospheric Sciences Center, Research Center is there, right? Along with the Department of Atmospheric and Environmental Sciences and the New York State Mesonet. In fact, it's the largest instructional building on the Uptown campus with more than 200 full-time faculty and researchers and 100 research and industry partners. It's a pretty impressive building. And if you haven't been there yet, I would definitely recommend going there for a tour. It's really nice. And then we did finally return to in-person programming this fall. We have 5 programs. We've had some problems with cancellations due to illness and rescheduling. But the highlights, I think, were Randall Craig, who talked to us. He's from the English department on his work of teaching college level courses at a state correctional facility. Then we had Kesh Casabadis, who we just talked about, our new VP for Research and Economic Development. He talked to us about his vision for research here at UAlbany, not only all the way up to 2030, and he did talk at length about that $75 million artificial intelligence initiative that the president mentioned. And we also held our first ever virtual book club. We had Frankie Bailey from Criminology come here and talk about her novel, The Red Queen Dies. And Chris Walczyk actually has volunteered to give a talk next week, December 5th, a week from today, on Albany area climate, past changes and future projections. Appreciate Chris's willingness to step in at the last minute. We originally were planning to have Philip Morris, who's the CEO of the Proctors Collaborative, which includes Proctors, CapRep, and University, what's that, the Universal Preservation Hall, I think, up in Saratoga. but he's having some surgery. So we've rescheduled him for the, that's a good excuse. We've rescheduled him for the spring semester. And we also publish a newsletter. It's titled The Emeritus Voice. And it includes updates on our programs, retirement success stories, accomplishments of the emeriti, and other news of interest. We've published 16 issues since 2017, and it's all done electronically, mailed to members, emeriti, and other interested parties who are on our mailing list. And it had previously been formatted as a PDF. Let's see if these links work. Yeah, ooh, amazing. Oh, wait. Yeah, this is the PDF.
You're gonna have to share that.
Okay, this one, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Stop sharing this and then share the other screen. Where is it? There it is. Well, we're sharing. It says I'm sharing, but it's not showing it. Try one more time. Okay, let me close this. Heck with it. You can see that we're still learning this new technology.
Like Bill Gates.
Yeah, I blame. Anyway, the PDF, it was nicely formatted, but it was a 17-page document. And that's nothing you can scroll through with the phone. So we did convert to newer software, Constant Contact. And again, this is not going to work either, but it's a much more streamlined version. I don't know if you've seen Constant Contact in terms of emails, but it's all on one page, not 17 pages. And instead of full-length stories, it has links. You can just click on the link and it'll take you to our website or wherever the source of that full-time story is. So it is something you can scroll through in 5 or 10 minutes on your phone instead of having to wait till you get home, load your laptop, and then scroll through the 17 pages of PDF. Again, there's a learning curve to that. And we're getting there, but we hope to have the second one done, a second issue formatted that way, coming out in January. We also have continued our 3 Voices grant program. That's our program where we provide financial support to emeriti who want to continue doing research, teaching, or service after their retirement. And all emeriti, be they faculty, administrators, or professional staff, are eligible. It's a competitive and peer-reviewed process. And in 2021, we funded 6 applications, and in 2022, we funded 5, totaling $15,500. But since the program's inception in 2016, we funded 42 grants, totaling nearly $57,000. And you can see we funded a wide array of topics, all the way from French literature to chemistry, to education, to sociology, to English and theater. And typically the specific activities we help fund are conference travel. If somebody wants to present his or her work at a scientific or professional conference, publication costs for journal articles or books, and archival research as well. And in fact, we also launched a new funding opportunity this year, whereby we're expanding the Three Voices awardees to include academic and administrative units, as well as emeriti. So these would be like the various departments, schools, colleges, or institutes can apply. Whereas the traditional Three Voices is really emeriti have to apply. And we are willing to fund up to $1,000 activities that we think are of interest and value to the emeriti that are being sponsored by these units. Things like lecture series, panel discussions, outreach programs, or exhibitions. And we did award one of these this year. In fact, the president mentioned the Writers Institute Book Festival. We did give them $1,000 reward for their program in September, specifically for a panel discussion that had 4 faculty authors, including 2 of whom were emeriti. Those specifically were Eugene Garber in English and Ronald Berger in history. And we also have resurrected our fellows program. That's to honor emeriti for substantial and sustained professional achievements after retirement. And it includes a $500 honorarium and an invitation to speak at one of our programs. In fact, the applications are out right now. So if you're interested, you can nominate yourself or nominate one of your friends or colleagues. They're due January 31st, and we'll make a decision by March 31st. In 2021, we had 2 awardees, Eric Block from chemistry and Gary Clappel from biology. And in 2022, we also had 2 awardees, Randall Craig in English, who I mentioned, gave a talk on his work about teaching college courses at a correctional institution. And George Robinson from biology, who also gave a talk this fall on the work he's done. He looks at climate change and its impact on the ecosystem, specifically wildlife, and he also specializes in invasive species. So he's kind of like a biologist / ecologist. And in fact, UAlbany's electronic newsletter today at UAlbany did a story on Randall and George. If I could get the link to work, I'd show you the story, but it's a nice story. It shows Randy actually getting awards at the correctional institution's graduation ceremony. And we also have our website, which is attached to albany.edu website. We update it every semester. It includes the schedule of our programs and board meetings. Our newsletters are there. Also the application for the Three Voices grant program. It also lists our board members and their bios. In terms of where we get our money, we're not funded by the university. Instead, we're funded by 2 endowments that were from our founding president, Bill Reese. And those are administered by the University at Albany Foundation. The earnings from those endowments are basically the money that we spend. We have one endowment is really what we call our operating account. And we currently have about $12,500 there. And the other endowment funds our Three Voices awards. And you can see we have about $55,000 there. And our board of directors, that's the group that basically guides the center and helps plan and implement its activities. We did have 13 members as of January 2021, but we've had 3 resignations. Some of you may know these people. Cyril Chesson, he was a long-term board member, but he relocated to North Carolina. Grace Burian was also a longtime board member, but she had to step down because of some personal health problems. And Donna Canestraro was a recent board member, but she had to step down because of some family health issues. So currently there are 10 of us. Myself as president, Jim Van Voorst. Jim, raise your hand. Benita Sanchez, our treasurer, Benita. Yes. Tim Lance, our secretary. Dean Natkin, who's running our programs, there he is. Neil Murray, our communications guy, there he is. And Carol Whitaker and Bob McFarland, who help with our newsletter. Carol and Bob, there they are. And then we have Scott Burge. I think I saw Scott, there he is. And Dave Wagner, of course. And Glenn Griffith is he's in the provost's office, but he's our administrative liaison. He replaced Bill Hedberg after Bill retired. Okay, so lastly, maybe before I talk about this, does anybody have any questions on what I just presented or anything more about the Emeritus Center? Now's a good time to ask because we have, I think, all the board members here too.
Oh, you're losing one because I gotta leave.
He's got to go. Okay, Dave.
When you mentioned the endowments there, was that the value of the endowment?
No.
Annual income from
That's the annual, that's our current, our cumulative income every year. Right. Yeah, I think the operational account has an endowment of about 100,000. And the interest from that accrued interest is the 12,000. And then the Three Voices, I think, has 400,000. And the accrued earnings there is what funds the three, that's what's the 55. That's what that we have more in the Three Voices because it's, you know, much larger, it's 4 times the size. So it generates 4 times the income. But that's probably where most of our expenses are, is funding those grants. Any other questions on anything else I said? Okay. The good news is that all 10 members of the board have agreed to serve for another 2 years, starting in December. And we have 2 types of memberships. Some of us, like myself, and I think Benita, Tim, Neil, were appointed by our respective deans or administrative vice presidents. You too, Jim. You and Scott were as well from the administrative side. The rest of us from the academic side. But then we have what we call at-large members of the board. They don't have to be appointed by a dean or a VP. They can essentially volunteer. And then to make their appointments official, they're endorsed by the Emeriti through our election. In fact, before you leave, I am going to have to ask you to fill out a ballot to certify our at-large members for the next 2 years, 2023 and 24. Carol Whitaker again, Carol. Dean again, and Bob again. Carol's from the School of Public Health. Dean, I think you were from the Registrar's office, correct?
Yes.
And Bob, you were administrator in the president's office, weren't you? Correct, yes. So they're all running again, but they're not appointed by a dean or a VP. So we do need to vote on them again. Anything you 3 candidates want to offer? What's your platform? What do you support? What do you oppose? Yes, that's right. Or they want going to lead an insurrection. Okay, anyway. But although technically, you know, like I said, the new board starts in December and runs for 2 years. We are certainly willing and able to take on volunteers at any point during the 2 years. If somebody's interested, you know, just let us know. We'd be happy to break you in slowly by having you attend some of our board meetings, which is only once a month. And if you don't run away scared, then you can continue with us. And I think for the full 2-year term, I think the board just, again, has to certify you by, you know, formally electing you to the board. But we're always welcome for volunteers. Okay, so any other questions or comments? No? Let's close this up. And let's see, I did bring ballots here. Yeah, so it's basically just a ballot and whether yes, no, or abstain for Dean, Bob, and Carol to continue for another 2 years. If you just take one and calm down. We do have some pens and pencils, I think.
Can any Emeritus vote here? Like if there's Zoom people, are they able to vote?
We're not doing it remotely. We're not doing a live stream here. So
I guess I'm curious who's eligible to vote.
anybody who's in attendance, yeah, anybody who's an emeriti and in attendance at this meeting, yes.
Not on the board. We have to do it in paper, we couldn't just raise our hands.
It's supposed to be a secret ballot, I think technically. So don't put your name on it. It's supposed to be a secret ballot. Okay. Well, I think that's about it. Does any board member want to bring up anything that we haven't discussed? Does anybody else present have any other items? If not, then thanks for coming.